Welcome to the Hyborian Keep. I'm Old Man Hyborian. Here, we review tales of Robert E. Howard's greatest character, Conan the Barbarian. Today, we'll be reviewing Heroic Signatures in Titan Comics' Savage Sword of Conan Issue number 15. This won't be some fluffy review. It'll be an old man's honest opinion. And just as a heads up, there will be spoilers. So I don't want you to go crying to your mommy if I say something that spoils it for you. If you don't want the spoilers, go to the summary at the end. And if you enjoy the video, please like and subscribe. And with that, let's get after it. Savage Sword of Conan, issue number 15, covered by Alex Horley. Excellent cover. Alex definitely is leading the pack for doing covers for Savage Sword of Conan. They're all excellent covers. Inside cover has some merchandise from Heroic Signatures in Titan Comics. We have a pin-up by Liam Sharp. Not a bad pin-up. Conan's looking pretty brutal there. We have the credits for Heroic Signatures in Titan Comics and the table of contents. We have the map of the Hyborian Age, Numidian Chronicles with a pretty good pin-up there from Simon Jacob. So the story is called The Exchange. The writer is Jimmy Palamoni and Amanda Connor, and the artist is Andy Bellinger. So right from the get-go, like, this really burns my arse, is at the lack of attention of detail, because that ship there is, to me, is not a ship from the Hyborian Age. That's a ship from the Golden Age of Sail. You know, Howard talked about a couple of different ships in his stories. We had the galleys that had the sail and oars. And we also had the carrack, which a carrack basically is a square-sailed vessel with a forecastle and a poop deck, but typically just like a single mast with one square sail, not this three-masted multi-sail abomination that's drawn here. So right from the get-go, the story's turned me right off, just because I'm seeing something that to me does not fit in the Hyborian Age. So basically, story starts off with Conan and this new character, Tadia, prisoners on this ship. So Conan, he makes the escape. Here, another thing, like, the ships didn't have a ship wheel. If you look at Howard's stories when he talks about the ships, they have sweeps. So the sweep basically is used for steering the ship and not a wheel. So, you know, just another detail there that just has turned me right off. So anyway, Conan, they're up on the deck, has a battle. Art, I don't know, the art, not really bad, but some of it's not too bad, some of it's not too good. So Conan, he escapes. Then we get the backstory of his comrade there, of why there's a bounty out for her, how she was a maid, and how the prince got her pregnant, and the king and queen poisoned the prince's real wife and wanted to have this baby. So now they're all hunting for her because they want this child. And then they give a bit of a backstory of why Conan is being hunted down, because there's a bounty on him from this old comrade of his called Orm. You know, the story wasn't bad. Started off not too bad, but then towards the end it kind of petered out. Another detail with the art is this ship here. This ship shows up 3 or 4 different times with just different shading. So to me that was a little bit lazy. That just seemed to be like some cut and patching. See, there it is again. So Conan, they're going back to this island with this king and queen, and they're trying to devise a way to how they can get off the ship without getting caught, and then maybe get some revenge for both of them. So they devise this plan, how Conan's going to take care of the prince. So Conan breaks into the castle, has a battle with the prince, who's pretty handy with a knife, but he's very cruel. He's kind of torturing these women. So Conan, he takes care of business eventually. Sliced up there a little bit. Frees these women, who turn, you know, automatically from damsels in distress to some kind of ultimate warriors, because they grab weapons and they help with the escape. Then Tadia, she starts her quest, which she's going to get revenge for Conan on this guy who's got a bounty on Conan's head. So she's kind of trying to get close to this guy, wooing him up, going to slit his throat there when the sea captain from the first, who they thought was dead, arrives and saves the day. So she ends up getting caught. She gets fed some kind of potion from this witch that she spills the beans to where Conan's at. So they capture Conan, they throw them both down into a hole. The king and all the bad guys are there standing around the hole kind of gloating. There's going to be some kind of a sacrifice to both of them. So it's a giant snake that comes out. So all Conan has is this little knife. Tadia, she has a sharp bone. So these two girls that Conan had rescued, even though they're tied up, they end up knocking all these big burly men down into the hole. So the snake eats the king. Conan ends up killing the snake, or wounding the snake I should say. And him and Tadia, they take off. They feel a breeze, so they take off and they get out to the shore, and the snake gets burst out behind them, and they all go into the drink. Conan's unconscious, and then he wakes up a few days later, and Conan's enemy there, Orm, he's now king. He took over the kingship because the other king was killed by the snake. And this is when the story really kind of gets a little bit wonky, because even though Orm had a bounty out on Conan, he's treating Conan like he's the best buddy there and wants to make him, you know, the head of his navy and all this other stuff. So kind of went off base there a little bit, like somebody's got a bounty out on somebody's head and then all of a sudden, you know, your best buddies. A little bit far-fetched. So Conan, he's going to leave. He wants Tadia to go with him. She initially said no, but then it ends up that yeah, she's going to come. So Conan, he's all happy. There's that view of the ship again, even though this is a different ship. It looks exactly the same as the ship that was shown earlier. So yeah, the story, you know, the story wasn't bad. Like I said, towards the end of it, it kind of petered out into some silliness there, but it was tolerable. Again, the art, you know, not bad in some places. Didn't care for the lack of detail about the ship. That really bugged me. And this repeated imaging thing, that just seemed a little bit lazy to me. And then we have the chainmail page. Then we have an illustration by Chris Campana, which, yeah, it's just mediocre. Don't like the oversized sword. Kind of looks silly. But art's not too bad. Then we have some pretty cool art here by John Alberto Hernandez. Then we have a pin-up, Breckinridge Elkins by Roberto de la Torre. Nothing wrong with Roberto stuff. Good pin-up. And the second story was a story by Tom DeFlacco and Ron Hernandez. I guess it was the plot script and the pencils. And the inks by Patrick Olive. So I don't know a whole lot of information about Breckinridge Elkins. It's one of Howard's Western heroes, kind of comedy. So, you know, besides that, I don't know too much. But the story was kind of fun. It's meant to be fun. I think that's how Howard wrote this character. He was all brawn and no brain. So the story was pretty comical. The art, I found, you know, it fit the story. I thought the story was pretty interesting and fun. I liked it. The back cover has some Conan novels that are out. Next issue, it appears is going to include the launch of the new Conan miniseries, Tide of the Tyrant King, so looking forward to that. So overall, you know, not the best Savage Sword, but definitely not the worst. Excellent cover, decent story, decent art, a little bit disappointed on some detail of the art, but overall not too bad. Well, there you have it. A mediocre issue of Savage Sword of Conan from Heroic Signatures and Titan Comics. The cover by Alex Horley, excellent. Can't go wrong with an Alex Horley cover. There were several pinups inside by Liam Sharp, Simon Jacob, Chris Campana, and Roberto de la Torre. They range from excellent to mediocre. The main story by Jimmy Palmiotti and Amanda Connor wasn't bad, didn't start off bad. kind of got silly at the end. There was a couple of women that were showing up at the middle of the story there that had some roles that were a little bit crazy. But overall, not a bad story. The art by Andy Bellinger, just don't know what to think about that. Some of it wasn't too bad, some of it wasn't too good. I found it rather flat. It was like there wasn't enough perspective. I think if he would have added some perspective images, it would have made the story flow a lot better. But it looked like I was looking at a photo album. There was just a bunch of still shots. Another thing that I didn't much care for was a lack of detail. They had a ship that definitely did not look, to me, from the Hyborian age. So I don't like it when there's lack of details like that. And there was some cutting and pasting. He had an image of a ship, showed up exact image 3 or 4 times. All they did was inked it a little bit differently. So that just seemed lazy to me. So the artwork was just mediocre. There was a Robert E. Howard poem by Juan Alberto Hernandez. Image, excellent image on that. And the backup story, Breckinridge Elkins. It was done by Tom DeFalco and Ron Fernandez and inked by Patrick Olaf. Enjoyed that story. I thought that the story and the art really complemented each other well. It was a fun story. So, even though it was a mediocre issue, there was enough good in it to make it interesting. Buy it, read it, and enjoy it. And with that, I bid you farewell.